Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this webinar organized by Smart Testing. This will be a webinar about software testing from necessary evil to value contributor. And it will be also for us the opportunity to introduce to you our flagship product, YEST. We are two presenters today to present this webinar. Myself, my name is Michael Goez. I'm the CEO and the co-founder of Smart Testing. And I'm with Arnaud Bouzy, who is also a co-founder of Smart Testing and the product manager for our product, YEST. The agenda that we are proposing to you today, first, a couple of slides to explain the context of agile transformation and the adaptation of quality engineering. Then I will also show you some slides to introduce YEST, our visual test design automation solution for agile teams. And then Arnaud will take over for a practical illustration with a demo. And at the end of the session, we will have a Q&A session. For that, I will kindly ask you to write your questions in the question panel of GoToWebinar, and we will respond to your questions at the end of the webinar. If we are not, if the number of people allows it, we may as well open the mics, your microphones, so that you can ask your question live. We will see that at the end of the webinar, according to the number of people that have connected. So let's start with the agenda and with the grand vision first. Top performing companies nowadays are adopting agility as a whole. I don't just mean agility within the IT department or the software factory. I'm talking about a global agility that business consultants call business agility. Basically, this business agility recommends to manage all activities of the company based on the delivery of value. If we zoom on the software factory, this business agility has an impact on the testing role. Testers are now part of the agile teams, and their role is evolving towards a role of quality coach. You are no more asked to be the sole responsible for quality, but you are asked to spread your know-how on quality to the entire product team, and the concept of testing tends to disappear in favor of the concept of quality engineering. The split of quality responsibility throughout the product team started a few years ago with the reversal of the test pyramid in the correct position. For some time already, it is no more acceptable for developers of the agile team not to systematically do unit testing. Certain agile gurus even said that this was sufficient, but we know that the tests on the top of the pyramid are crucial as they ensure that we develop the right software. After the reversal of the test pyramid, the pursuit of the transformation towards quality engineering deals with two main challenges. The first challenge concerns an improved collaboration between business people and IT people, with the objective to have a better alignment between business needs and the product that is actually developed. We talk about a shift left move, and this is a well-known problem that has been illustrated 100 times. The second main challenge concerns test automation, a faster development of test automation with the objective to cope with the accelerated time to market. In order to address these two challenges, many organizations have adopted Gherkin-based BDD approach. Adoption of it is moving to the low part of the hype curve these days, mainly because Gherkin scenarios are not so easy to write, to understand, and to share, particularly for longer and more complex acceptance criteria. As a consequence, Gherkin tests turn out not to be the ideal support to collaboration between business and IT. And in addition, they tend to pull the test down at a very atomic level of the user story, neglecting the business crucial tests on the top of the pyramid. In this context, model-based testing is going through a new lease of life because graphical representations turn out to be much more expressive and a better support to collaboration with business people. Our product, YEST, is a new generation of MBT tool for Agile teams. Let me explain to you how YEST addresses the two challenges that we mentioned earlier. I remind you, the challenge of test alignment with business needs and the challenge of faster, easier, more maintainable test automation. That is the challenge of we could say shift left and the challenge of, let's say, shift right. Not exactly shift right, but more on the right, definitely. Okay, so let me explain you this. So first, I need to tell you that YEST is a solution that comes in two modules. A collaboration module on the right-hand side of the screen under the form of a YEST app in Jira, and a production module on the tester's machine. I like to call this production module on the tester machine the tester's IDE. Like the developers add their own IDE, there's no reason why testers should not have also an IDE. YEST is a model-based testing solution for Agile teams, a modern model-based testing solution. As such, the test production with YEST is based on graphical representations. These graphics that you will see much better during the demo represent the application workflow you wish to test. It does not represent the expected behavior of the application like it was the case for old-fashioned model-based testing tools. In other words, what you see here, these graphics, are an initial high-level vision of some test scenario for a defined functional scope. These visual test scenarios have the immense virtue. They are very easy to understand by everyone, by all members of the product team, whatever their profile. They are an excellent support for discussion and for shared formulation of the business needs. Sharing, discussing, formulating, etc., are activities organized in the collaboration platform of the product team. This is why YEST collaboration module is an app for Jira. YEST for Jira. Jira is where these graphical representations are shared, discussed by the three amigos. I'm sure you are familiar with the three amigos, three friends, meetings and concept. The second module is the tester's IDE, as I said, on the tester's machine. There, the testers complement the graphical representation with details of the business rules that must be tested, expressed under the form of decision tables, with traceability links to the requirements, user story, but possibly also to risks, priorities, to anything you wish, actually. This is also where test data is being defined under the form of Excel-type tables, as well as test documentation and operation details for manual execution. What is done next in the production module is largely an automatic process. You have automatic test generation, automatic publication of the manual test into your preferred test management tool, and automatic publication of the test script into your test automation environment. We'll come to test automation in the second part of this presentation. But for the moment, as you can understand, from this project based on graphical representation, tests are being produced with a great deal of automation process. So there is a strong continuum between the formulation of the business needs and their translation into tests. Collaboration, discussion, and formulation done with the business teams, continuum to test production. We have our shift left. Okay, so we have tests that are solidly aligned with the business needs. We have a better shift left approach. Now, how do we go on to ensure that this solid alignment extends to automated tests? How we make sure that we accelerate and facilitate the production of automated tests? How we make sure that we facilitate a successful collaboration between functional testers and test automation engineers? This is where we enter into the hard subject of test automation, because test automation is still a tough challenge. Why? First explanation, the fact that the functional tests often go through the user interface, which changes frequently. This is a rather technical difficulty. The second explanation, automated functional tests are made to check that we are developing the right software. So we need to be in the heads of our users. We need to guess how the users are going to use the product. This is a business challenge. Technical skills and business skills are rarely found in the same person. They are generally distributed over two distinct teams, which should therefore collaborate. But in real life, QA teams and test automation engineers often work in silos in a very separate organization. Here is the testimony of Mr. Jean-Jacques Richard from the insurance company Allianz in France. What it says is this: today, we have two separated worlds, manual tests on the one hand, automated tests on the other hand. And when we automate our tests, whether manual tests pre-exist or not, very often this is done several cycles later, which is not so disturbing, but we start all over again from scratch, from the functional analysis. Obviously, this is very bad and a waste of time and effort. So let's see how YEST improves the collaboration between manual testers and test automation engineers. The YEST approach to test design does three very interesting things for test automation. The first thing, it separates the business level from the execution level. To put it into the IEST-QB language, it separates design from implementation. I'll give you an example. Test data in YEST is split into design data, which is usually a logical artifact, and execution data, which is necessarily concrete. Second thing that YEST offers, it offers auto-completion and refactoring features so that manual tests can be described in a very consistent way. I give you an example again. If you start writing a piece of text that you have already written previously somewhere else, YEST suggests the end of your sentence, and if you later correct this piece of text, YEST will propose to automatically propagate this correction. So you have homogeneous test steps. And when you have homogeneous test steps, you have less risk of making several automation keywords for the same functional action. And you make the life of test automation engineer easier. The third very interesting thing done by YEST, YEST approach encourages and facilitates parameterization as opposed to hard-coded data in tests. Parameterized steps will facilitate maintenance and viability of automated tests. It will be easier to produce an automated test that will run n times with n different datasets. When it comes to the implementation of the test in the form of keywords, then the collaboration between the manual testers and the test automation engineer really takes an active form. The translation of the test into automation keywords, sequence of keywords, sorry, is done by 4 hands. This allows the automation engineers to benefit from the functional and the business knowledge of his colleague, manual tester, and this enables the manual testers to become more familiar with the keywords. If I sum up, the collaboration between the manual tester and the test automation engineers takes 2 forms. A remote form, I would call it remote form. I am the manual tester. I give you, to you, test automation engineer, visual application workflows so that you can understand the functional aspects more easily. I, manual tester, give you, test automation engineers, homogeneous tests. I give you tests with parameters, and I select the regression tests. And then it takes an active form, this collaboration between manual testers and test automation engineer, takes an active form with 4 hands. I, manual testers, work with you to implement these tests in sequences of keywords with their parameters, communicating to you my business knowledge, and learning from you your artifact, the keywords. As I become familiar with the keywords, the next time there is a functional change that is not too complicated, I will update my design project and my manual tests, of course, but I will also be able to modify the keyword sequences and therefore the automated scripts, and this without disturbing you. So by instrumenting, the conclusion is this, by instrumenting the collaboration at every stage, an efficient production chain is achieved from business needs to automated testing, limiting the functional drift, ensuring the relevance of the automated tests. And the manual testers really contribute to the test automation effort. I will now let my colleague handle the mic and become the presenter for the demo. So,
hi everyone. We are here into YEST on my desktop. So the way the YEST is organized is we have here a workflow which represents what a set of tests will do. In fact, it's representing the different actions that will be handled by the test and the cinematics of this one. So this is a consumer application, a very simple example for demonstration. And what will happen in my test scenarios will be, first I will check the credit data. Then in some cases I want to create directly the customer into my CRM. Let's say I've got a CRM involved. And afterwards I want to check my customer data relative to this credit and sign and record the contract. So that's the basics of the flow. And of course, I'm I'm testing. So I want to test non-passing cases. So in the credit data, I want to check non-passing situations. And after that, the test will stop. And same for the customer. After checking the customer, some customer will be rejected and the test will stop. So that is the graphical representation we've got there. And downwards, we've got decision tables. So under check credit data, we will list the different cases that we want to test. So depending on the amount of the credit, depending on the type of good that will be acquired, depending on the duration of the credit, then my specification says that it's supposed to be valid or invalid. So this is the way I will handle the data. And here you can see the test sets that will be represented into the scenarios with the action and expected result as usual, written in plain English or in plain German if you want. And you've got here parts of this text which is parameterized, and you will see afterwards that in the test you will have the actual value inside each of these data. After that, we've got the column which is called the outcome that helps us say where do we go afterwards. If I look at the credit here, you see that I've got some cases where it's the credit eligible. I want to go further on, or I want to stop if it's not. So here, this is depicted with this column. So existing customer, that means I'm going away, I'm continuing the test scenarios in case of the credit validity. And if the credit is not valid, then the test will stop, and that's all. Then afterwards, we've got a column which is called the objective that helps naming the test scenarios, and then we will see that after the generation. Some additional information we will when we go further on, and relationships with the user story which is involved in each of these cases. So here there is a relationship with my Jira, and actually I can just see where this user story are and where they are based from directly inside from Jira. You see I've got here my project into Jira where I see my video, sound, and appliance and mobile, which are referred to from the project itself. I also have into Jira the graphical representation is the very same as in YEST itself, with the same workflow. You can see it bigger, and this part we will edit it from Jira afterwards. But now we're just reading it, and this is an open door from the testing to the rest of the team to see what I'm testing, in which conditions, and we can see also we have the same table depicted inside. So we can look back. Whoops, we can look back from YEST to this environment and to see the tables which are involved and discuss around that to explain what is wrong, what is good, what have you missed in your descriptions. And also it helps documenting the application itself, of course, for developers, for example. So when we have decided to have this workflow enough filled up, we can generate test scenarios. So generation has multiple forms, but I will start from the smaller one, which covers each elements of these graphics, each line of the decision table, and produce the minimum number of test scenarios to cover every part of it. So if we look at this scenario here, we've got here the textual description of my scenario, as it will be into my test repository, and graphically I can see where this scenario goes to, and for each step I see where I am effectively at this moment. So this helps understand what is going on into my scenario. But this scenario has been generated, of course, but maybe I don't want to have it exactly as it is. So I might change some elements. For example, I can increase the value to 7.99, which is more like retailing an application in applications. I want to, for example, I can add the reference to the customer creation inside there. So I can just pick it up if I want and to insert it into my my test repository. And I need to be connected to X-Ray first, to Jira. And I can update and have exactly the bright scenarios I want. Once the generation is done, the scenario are the property of the tester, and YEST will not modify these test scenario without any information coming from the tester himself. So it will say that there are some problems, and we'll see that when we will update the scenario. But it will just do it. It will just do it directly from there. So also into my test in my Jira, I've got another project which is my test environment. For now, it is empty, where I will get my scenarios coming from YEST. So if I look at the publication, this is the publication called the publication environment, in which I will project my my test scenarios into this Jira project, which is in X-Ray. And just by publishing, I will create the equivalent of the test scenarios we have seen just right now, with the links which are transferred from YEST. And now my scenario are received here. So if I look at the very same scenario, I can see here my steps come in. And here I can see my step with the 799 number, etc. The credit is valid, etc. Exactly as if you were writing it by hand, except that it has been built from it. And the rest of it will be updating. So for communication between YEST and X-Ray, we're using the APIs of Jira. And that means that we can also handle the lifecycle of the test afterwards. So let's imagine now that we've got a new feature that is coming, a new user story to be implemented. If we look at my back to my project where I saw the user stories, here I've got a new, where is it? Manager signature. Here I've got a new user story, which says that if the amount of the credit is higher than 600, then the contract must be signed by the agency manager. So let's discuss about that. Okay, we can see where it is placed. You see here, well, that's the contract signature. Okay, currently we just have this contract signature without any conditions. So we want to edit that, and this can be done by the PO, it can be done by the testers, but the idea is that collectively they can agree upon what is necessary to be done. So I have the contract signature here, and I will create a new alternative, which I will call manager signature. And of course, as an alternative, it has to be placed here and between the choice here and the recording of the contract. Okay, everybody agrees, so we can save that. We know everyone knows what he has to do. And back to YEST, what will happen is that I will be able to close the others. You see that it's written that there is a new version of the workflow which is available now. So the tester is informed that the new version is there. So you can download here, and you see the tester is responsible for the global health of this workflow. So he has the ability to accept or refuse the modifications that are done. I will accept everything here because everything has been done collectively. And you see my manager signature now will appear into my workflow. So I've got a few things to do. Now I've got to write the corresponding steps. And I will just keep this right spelling here, nothing else. But I want to add a correspondence with the user story so we can have traceability links afterwards. So here I've got the list of available user stories into my project, into Jira. I can have access directly to it. And just selecting the manager signature and dragging it there, you see now I've got the correspondence here with my signature. Okay, so there is a last one thing to do, which is this threshold of 600. So if the amount of the contract is less than 600, I want to go there. So let's do that, which is adding a condition on the amount of the credit. And if my customer is declared invalid, there is no change, of course. But if it is valid, so if the amount is less than 600, I want to go to the same contract signature as before. And if it's valid still, but the amount is greater or equal to 600, I want to go instead to the manager signature. Okay, so everything is in place. So now what is the impact on my scenarios? You can see here the color has changed, the icon has changed here because my scenario is not anymore consistent with the workflow. And you see here, I'm going through the contract signature, but it should go to the manager signature instead. So let's change it. We have the ability to change it directly or to see some valid proposal. You see it suggests to reduce the amount and keep the contract signature. That's not what I have in mind. So let's go next. Other solutions, other, yes, that's this one. That's the good one. And I accept this modification. And now my workflow is, my scenario is consistent with the new version of the workflow. Okay, so here I've got a warning because my workflow locally is different from the one which is into Jira because I made some modifications. So I can send that back to Jira and save the workflow. So the image into Jira will reflect the modification I've made as well. And I can also publish again. Just publishing, I don't have to care about which modification has been made because YEST will handle that. And you see that it updates the step number 3 of this scenario. And going back to Jira.
Next slide.
I can see here in my test credit my scenario, which is this one, still the one 799, but now it has got this manager signature instead of the basic signature that it had before. Right, my scenarios for manual testing are okay, so we can go to automation now. So how YEST manages an automation? In fact, we have different ways of publishing tests for automation. So let's close the others and keep that. If you look at this, you've got a list of different environments for manual and for automation testing. So for manual, we have Zephyr, for example. Squash.dm is a very French test repository, but it's there. We have also Octane, or manual, or basic manual, or Gherkin. We have ALM, we have X-Ray, we have a list of test repositories that are available for manual testing. And we also have a large list of environments. I don't have them all here, of course, for automation. So Cucumber for us, as Michel said before, Cucumber can be used for automation, but it has a lot of limits when writing the test in Cucumber manually. But it's still some kind of automation tool, and that is what we will show there. But all the others, like Robot Framework or UFT for some and others, are available and all based on the same principle. And the principle is that I've got some keywords, as Michel mentioned, and these keywords must be associated to the steps of my test scenarios. So here the keywords are directly read from the code implementation in Cucumber, in Java Cucumber in my case. And what I have to do as a tester is to explain how and test as a tester, testers, in fact, as a couple of testers, which are functional tester and automation tester together. How do I translate this action, which is check credit data, into calls to these keywords? And that's a sequence that is representing this action, this test action, entering the credit data with amount, duration, etc. I will enter the amount in a certain field, then a duration in another, then the product which is involved in another, then verify the message in response. So this is the way I want to translate that. And here you can see that I've got two kinds of colors into my data. I've got the amount, which is the same as I used into my manual test. But here, instead of the duration, which is written here, and in that case, that is between 10 and 36 months, instead, I've got a month duration, which is another variable depicted in gray. So where does it come from and what is it? In fact, it's a physical data which will be used for automation specifically, but it can be also done for manual testing, representing the values that are used. And if I look at the credit list of data, I can see here I've got for this video sound a duration between 6 and 24 months. I've got different products which are involved and which are the actual one that will be selected to the application, and different durations, 6, 12, and 24, for example. I will have all these data, which can be, this data set can be created from a database and or manually as you want. And they've got to be mixed up together to form the correct data set combinations for all the test scenarios. So by generating these combinations automatically by YEST, I will have for this scenario an automatic selection of the appropriate duration of type of good for this scenario, so the corresponding products which are available with the corresponding durations for the credit. And also I have a selection of browsers, different browsers can be used, and a selection of customers. This one is an employee in that case, and with an age, and that comes from another data set. But this combination is done automatically by YEST, and then you can see that the resulting test scenario, let's look at this very same one still. The resulting scenario will be like this. So you've got the form of the standard Cucumber presentation with the given and then representations, and the set of data which are involved here. There is also one thing here. There is missing the manager signature, because I had a previous version in which I was using the basic signature. So I didn't map the manager signature to an automation call. So I can add that and say, I've got a click which is available here, and click on let's say manager signature. I'll just put that here. Doesn't matter exactly for the demo, but you see that I can select or a data or a fixed variable, and then my scenario is completely represented with the click and manager signature. Oh, that was very poorly written, and my scenario is updated. So by publishing, in that case, of course, depending on the type of tool you are using behind, by publishing, I will create the feature files, which will be available for automation. And still, I've got the feature file, which is the standard way of writing Cucumber for test automation. So the keywords I use can be reused from what has been done already for user story testing. And I'm ready to automate all this. And just one thing afterwards. For example, here my Pamela Jones come from my customer data set. But if I want to use someone else, let's see me on a Pussy, and I'm born somewhere in 64, and that's my name. And so, and everything is okay afterwards. My Cucumber file is refreshed instantly, so just republishing it, I will have an update directly into my test scenario. So YEST will handle the propagation of the data themselves into the list of scripts. So this can be done completely well. In case of Cucumber, you could do it directly from the Cucumber files. That's the reason of having the Cucumber files. But in lots of tools, it is quite technical to update just the data. So YEST can handle that the very same way as they there. Okay.
Thank you, Arnaud, for this demo. Of course, it went very fast, and if the feel that you have after this quick demo is very positive, do not hesitate to contact us for a longer and more and a deeper dive into our solution, with questions and answer a little bit longer. But we have some more time, and if you raise your hand with the panel, there would be, I would give you the opportunity to ask your question to everyone and to us. So please do so. Do not hesitate to ask your question. While you are thinking of the question you want to ask, I just want to tell you that we are now present on the German market, and willing to give you opportunity to try our product in your own context. This is a free service that we offer, where you can have access to our licenses for a certain duration, and we will help you to handle a proof of concept or evaluation of our solution. So do not hesitate to contact us if you wish to try our solution. Is there anyone wanting to ask a question? Please raise your hand, and I open your mic so you can ask your question. Okay, I have a question here that has been written. How long does it take to learn how to use YEST? Perhaps you can respond, Arnaud?
Well, yes, the first level of learning YEST is through a small training, which is half a day. There are two ways for training, or with us directly, or through the Smart Testing Academy, where you have an e-learning version of the product. And so that's the very beginning. And afterwards, you will use it and effectively use it very rapidly. And we currently say that after a very few days, you are effective with the tool, and you will get a lot of productivity after 1 or 2 weeks. So it's very rapidly get. Cool.
We have another written question. The question is about our references. Do we have references in Germany? We have a German customer, and we mentioned it during this demo because it's during this webinar, because it's the company, the German company Allianz, one of the biggest insurance company in the world. I think it's the second biggest company in the world. And but for the moment, this is only in France that Allianz is using our product. We do hope to extend to the German branch soon, but for the moment, we don't have any customer in Germany, because we have just started expanding our operations to the German market a couple of weeks ago. So for the moment, no German customers, but a lot of French customers, including Allianz and many others. And by the way, I have another question about this. What type of applications are being usually tested with YEST? Well, we have customers mainly in the IT, pure IT field, insurance companies, banks, telecom operators, etc., etc. Transport operators, payment operators, energy distributors, and we have a couple of customers. By the way, also a company that is present in Germany, the company Expleo that acquired SQS, who is using YEST on more technical IT, I would say, for automotive. These days, they are working with a big industrial company. So this is how things goes. The Smart Testing Academy, how to, I have another question here. The Smart Testing Academy is accessible. You go to our website, smarttesting.com, and then you have a link to the Smart Testing Academy. May we have the record? You will have the recording of this webinar, so don't worry if you want to share it with your colleagues. It will be soon available. I will definitely let you know. I have the traditional question about the cost of the solution. Just to tell you that I'm not going to say so publicly the prices now, because it's something that we wish to keep confidential and not on the public forums. But we have floating licenses and name users or seat licenses, and our commercial model, sales model, is by subscription, yearly subscription or multi-year subscription. I will respond directly to the person that has asked the question in a separate email. It's it's already 2 o'clock, 20 minutes past 2 o'clock. So we have slightly extended the webinar, which was supposed to last 45 minutes. I hope you enjoyed it and you found it interesting. I remind you that if you want to try, or if you're customer, because some of you are working for IT service companies. So if you are working for a project and you believe your client would be benefiting from YEST, please let us know. We can organize longer demos and also give you access to the technology so that you can try it in your context. On this conclusion, I will thank you again for your participation and hope to be in touch with you soon for concrete follow-up of this first webinar. Thank you very much. Have a nice afternoon. Have a nice rest of the week. Thank you again. Bye-bye.